Hello and welcome back to the cellblock Scorch. This is Octo coming at you with week 55, one of the goodies but oldies. And the prompt this week was given by Cricket. Cricket's prompt was, "'Tis not we who are fickle, it's thee who can never return." I don't know where she got this. I'm sure it has an exciting story. Maybe she'll tell it to you in the in her comments, but it's a fun, creepy little prompt. And so I ended up writing a fun, creepy little thing to go along with it. This piece is not part of a greater universe. It's just one of my titular creepy one-shots. So I hope you enjoy it, and that I can give you a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. The title of this is called Nameless. They had told her she would never be able to come back, and she had laughed. Over and over, the elders warned against crossing the wall, lest they be eternally cast out. And she had always sneered at the idea. They had to let her back in. She was the governor's daughter, for heaven's sake. It wasn't really an option to do otherwise. Besides, she was only leaving for a tiny peek. A little fresh air never hurt anybody. The moment her foot touched the grass beyond the grimy stone wall, she knew she had made the right decision. The sun was shining, birds were singing, and for once the plants seemed to be actually growing. She could see them stretching and contorting as they spread, lost their leaves, grew them back, and repeated the cycle in a whirlwind of color. It was fascinating, almost hypnotic with how fast it was going. "See, nothing's happening," she said to herself, taking a few steps forward. "It's so nice out here. Why do they have to be such sticklers about the rules?" She had tried, several times, to make her own garden like they had in books, but the seeds remained stubbornly dead for her. Or maybe they were sick. She wasn't too sure, and the elders never responded when she asked for advice. The flowers shooting up before her were amazing, and she was glad she finally got to see them in person. Content with her moment of defiance, she turned to take the few steps back to the wall, and found her joints were aching something fierce. It took so much energy to even drag her foot forward that she must have gotten stuck in something, so she looked down. She screamed in shock, but even her voice seemed creaky and pitiful, barely anything recognizable left in it. Those weren't her hands. They were spindly, gnarled things that trembled under her gaze. Had her legs always been this skinny and frail? She could barely believe that they held her up anymore, and the way they were shaking made her think they wouldn't for much longer. Desperation seized her. She ran for the wall as best she could. The wall was safe. The wall was home. They had to let her in. She didn't even make it 3 paces before collapsing, but it was enough to thrust her hand over the threshold of the wall. Someone grabbed onto her hand, and she smiled. The guard pulled an old skeletal woman into the confines of the wall. She gasped, opened her eyes, then went eerily still. He turned to his companion and sighed. "We got another one." "Who was she?" "Dunno. Guess she'll just have to go with the rest of the Nameless. I wonder where they keep turning up from."
Hi. Cricket here with Judge comments on week 55. I got 3 pieces this week. Lost did something really short, really funny. Grishmak did something really dramatic, also short. And then Octo rocked up with this nonsense. It's so creepy, it's so scary. It reminds me of the movie Stardust, but in reverse and in a bad way. It's really creative. I really liked what she did with the prompt, and how literal it is. Like, you really can't return. It's so good. And I hope you all enjoyed her piece.
So there you go. The second time I ever won the Scorch, I think. Maybe the third. I'm bad at keeping lists. That's kind of other people's job in this group. But I like that. Nice little creepy piece from myself. What's happening here? I'm sure you figured this out. It's not rocket science. But basically, this little lady lives in a castle or a keep or a village where time doesn't move. Like, she lives on a scale much smaller than that in the real world. And when she left the castle, her perception of time sped up so much. Well, her perception of time is so sped up that when she left and actually experienced real time, it was like, you know those, like, time-lapse movies and videos of trees growing and stuff? That was what she was seeing. And she didn't know that it was, unnatural until it was too late. And she, aged her whole lifetime. And then she died. It's not a very happy story. She, was overcome by hubris and reaped the, consequences thereof. But I don't know. I always have a thing about time. I think it's interesting how it can be experienced in different ways by different people. So that's kind of where the idea for this came up. I had to think of some reason that someone couldn't return after they left, And aging your entire lifespan in 5 seconds is a pretty good reason why you can't go back. When she came back, it'd been so long that nobody even knew who she could possibly be anymore, Rip that lady. I don't even know her name. Lost to time. Let me think if there's anything else to say about this little story. I don't believe so. I will say that past me of years ago hadn't quite gotten a handle on how I wanted to use commas, so I was reading through this and I was like, where is this going? Why are my commas where they are? And that was kind of a fun little thing to notice. Like, the overall tone and flow of this story matches a lot of what I'm doing now, but I definitely use punctuation differently in a way that I think more effectively communicates what I want to say. So, yay for self-improvement. That's why we do the Scorch, right? Like, we just started because we wanted to practice writing, and as we can see, at least in my case, it seems to be working out for me. I feel better about my writing now than I did back then, so it's a win. A real win. Let's see. Now, for the prompt that I gave the week after that, for number 56. It is, his only thought was, trick the lady. I'm trying to remember, since it's been a while, what I was thinking of with this prompt. Honestly, I was at that point in my life pondering a lot of stuff about Janie and his character and stuff like that, so he was on my brain, and that seemed like something that he would do. So then I was like, have a prompt that is 100% based on one of my characters that doesn't actually exist yet. And that is all I have to say about that. I ended up giving the win to, you think I'd be able to remember, Lost, with a fun story about soulmates, which was exciting. I'm excited for you to hear it. I really enjoyed it. And you'll hear more from me about that when she actually reads it. So, that's all for now. And keep that fire burning.
The Cellblock Scorch is a production of Stellacore, an independent group of nerds sharing their obsessions with the world. Links to all our projects, including Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, Patreon, and Ko-Fi, can be found on our link tree posted in each episode description. Follow us on Tumblr or Instagram to see the prompt of the day before the episode drops, and a quote from each Scorch the day after. If you would like to support our creative endeavors, you can give a one-time tip to the Ko-Fi of the writer of your favorite Scorches, or check out our Patreon. There, you can access the Scorches and episode transcripts for free, or sign up for Spark level support for $5 a month to gain access to our embers as well.